and I haven't locked it in yet, but I'm considering choosing this one for my book club. So let me know, please, if you would be interested in reading alongside with me. But this one is Hello and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and books. If I look disheveled, it's because I am. I meant to film this yesterday, but I managed to throw my back out, so I had to lay down for like the entire day. So don't know what happened. Actually, I do know what happened. I tripped running up the stairs. And I want to get this filmed and done with today. It's actually going to be 42 degrees today here, which in Fahrenheit is I think 108. So I'm not in the mood to sit in front of lights and a computer for very long because I am sweating. I was awake at 1 a.m. because it was still 30 degrees at 1 a.m. when there was no sun, which I think is like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So anyway, let's get into it. Did I even say what I'm doing? I'm sharing more 2024 releases. I already did part 1 to this video because I had so many books that I wanted to talk about that there was too much for one video. So I have part 1 that I will leave linked. This is part 2, and there probably will be a part 3. This is not all books that I'm planning to read within the year. I think I'll wait for some of them to see some reviews roll in. These are just books that I've come across that I think, based on the synopsis, sound interesting to me. So I'm sharing them with you. Let's get into it. All right, book number 1 on the list today is called Splinters, Another Kind of Love Story by Leslie Jamison. It says it is a nonfiction, it's a memoir. The riveting story of rebuilding a life after the end of a marriage, an exploration of motherhood, art, and new love. I don't actually know who Leslie Jamison is, and I don't remember how this got on my radar, but it does come out February 20, examining what it means for a woman to be many things at once: a mother, an artist, a teacher, a lover. Jamison places the magical and the mundane side by side in surprising pumping breast milk in a shared university office, driving the open highway in the throes of new love, growing a tender second skin of consciousness as she watches her daughter come alive to the world. Next up, also on February 20, by the way, I'm kind of going in chronological order. The first video was January and the beginning of February, now we're on to February. I just realized this one's being published by St. Martin's Press. There is currently a boycott happening because an employee said some very racist things online publicly, and they work in marketing and are in contact with influencers. Obviously, it's worrying because we don't want their racism and Islamophobic thoughts to impact readers and influencers within their work. The publishers have not said anything. They haven't even come out to make a simple statement to say we do not agree with racism. I've spoken about this in a couple of videos now. Hopefully by the time these books are out, they have said something. It is an influencer boycott, so you can still buy and read and enjoy the books, just not do the free marketing. And also this morning I did see that there is now a petition you can sign, so I'll leave that linked below. So yeah, we're just asked not to talk about the books publicly because if we can't stand up to racist things that people are doing, then the world is never going to change. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip talking about this book today, but hopefully I'll be able to read it by the time it comes out. Next up, we have The Partner Plot by Christine Forrest. This one is a romance book coming out February 27. It says 2 former high school sweethearts get a second chance in this marriage of convenience romance. Oh, this is the author of The Neighbor Favor. I have seen that cover around. She is a successful celebrity stylist. She travels all over the world. Professionally, she's thriving, but her personal life is in shambles. After surviving a very public breakup with her ex-fiancé 6 months ago, Violet is now determined to focus on her career. Okay, and it's going to be a romance between her and her high school boyfriend. So there we go. Marriage of Convenience, if anyone likes that. And it looks like a lot of fun. The cover is really cute. I love a pink cover. Blank by Zibby Owens. Comes out on March 1st. Oh, we're up to March books now. A wife, mother, and frustrated writer faces an impossible deadline for turning her life around in a hilarious debut novel about family, friendship, success, and exhilarating self-rediscovery. Okay, so she is a 40-ish former literary sensation who fears she'll be a one-hit wonder. Oh, I love following a writer. Months of staring at a blank page made her confidence vanish like a one-night stand. When she finds out she only has 5 days left to finish, or rather start, or repay an advance she's already spent, Pippa has a brilliantly original idea. Okay, fine, her 12-year-old son came up with it as a joke, but Pippa and her teenage daughter approved. Pippa's not only going to make a bold statement, but she'll change the book world while she's at it. All right, next up I have a book called Never Been Better by Leanne Toshiko Simpson. As it's coming out March 5, and it's the genres that are tagged are fiction, adult fiction, and romance. A hilariously offbeat and tender comedy about one bipolar woman's messy search for love at a seaside wedding where no one can stay afloat. Dee, Misa, and Matt were the three musketeers of the psych ward. A year after discharge, Dee is eager to convince everyone that she's finally turning things around, but Matt and Misa are tying the knots in Turks and Caicos, surrounded by guests who have no idea where they met, and the secrecy isn't sitting well with Dee, who has been hopelessly in love with Matt since before she got kicked out of the hospital. Oh, this sounds wild. A love triangle, and she's in love with someone who's about to get married. Right, next on March 5, I have Anita de Monte Laughs Last. Oh, this is the author of Olga Dies Dreaming, right? So it says fiction, mystery, adult, contemporary, historical fiction. Those are all the genres that it's tagged as. 1985, Anita de Monte, a rising star in the art world, found dead in New York City. Her tragic death is the talk of the town, until it isn't. By 1998, Anita's name has been all but forgotten. And then we're also following Rico, a third-year art history student, who becomes romantically involved with a well-connected older art student. She finds herself unexpectedly rising the social ranks. Moving back and forth through time and told from the perspectives of both women, Anita de Monte Laughs Last is a propulsive, witty examination of power, love, and art, daring to ask who gets to be remembered and who is left behind in the rare-filled world of the elite. I still haven't read Olga Dies Dreaming, but anyway, here's a new book by that author. Next, also on March 5, I have Women of Good Fortune by Sophie Wan. Fiction, contemporary, adult, romance, and Asian literature is tagged as. Set against a high society Shanghai wedding, a heartfelt, funny, dazzling novel about a reluctant bride and her two best friends, each with their own motives and fed up with the way society treats women who forge a plan to steal all the gift money on the big day. I love it. I love it! I've forgotten what some of these books were about that I had on my list. Lulu has always been taught that money is a ticket to a good life. So when Shanghai's most eligible bachelor surprises her with a proposal, the only acceptable answer is yes, even if the voice inside her head is saying no. His family's fortune would solve all her parents' financial woes, but Lulu isn't in love or ready for marriage. This sounds fun. I'm excited for this one. Also on March 5, I've got a romance called This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is a very popular author. It says it's in a series, but I mean, I should probably read the first book, but I always read romances out of order. Okay, so we're following a woman who plans everything. She designs everything. She fixes everything. She's a domestic goddess who's never met a party she couldn't host or charge she couldn't lead. One with all the answers and the perfect vinaigrette for that summer salad. None of her varied talents can save her when catastrophe strikes and the life she built with the man who was supposed to be her forever goes poof in a cloud of betrayal and disillusion. An unlikely man enters the picture, the forbidden one, the one she shouldn't want but can't seem to resist. Interesting, a very vague synopsis, but seems like a forbidden romance. And I've heard great things about this author and I've really been interested to try her out. Yeah, I do not remember what this book was about at all, but I remember the cover. It comes out on March 5. It's called Piglet by Lottie Hazel. An elegant, razor-sharp debut about women's ambitions and appetites and the truth about having it all. Outside of a childhood nickname she can't shake, Piglet's rather pleased with how her life's turned out. An up-and-coming cookbook editor at a London publishing house, she's got lovely loyal friends and a handsome fiancé. One of the many things he loves about Piglet is the delicious, unfathomably elaborate meals she's always cooking. When he confesses a horrible betrayal 2 weeks before they're set to get married, Piglet finds herself suddenly hungry. The couple decides to move forward with the wedding as planned, but as it nears, Piglet balances family expectations, pressure at work, and her quest to make the perfect cake. Born between the life she's always wanted and the ravenousness, that's a really hard word for me to say, that comes with not getting what you know you deserve, Piglet is, by the day of her wedding, undone, but also ready to look beyond the lies we sometimes tell ourselves to get by. A stylish, uncommonly clever novel about the things we want and the things we think we want. It's an examination of women's sometimes complicated relationship with food and a celebration of the messes life sometimes makes for us. Interesting. I do have a lot of wedding books on this list today. All right, I have, again on March 5, The Great Divide by Christina Enriquez. This one says it's historical fiction, an epic novel of the construction of the Panama Canal, casting light on the unsung people who lived, loved, and labored there. Searing and empathetic, The Great Divide explores the intersecting lives of activists, fishmongers, laborers, Journalists, neighbours, doctors, and soothsayers? Those rarely acknowledged by history even as they carved out its course. Interesting. It's a historical fiction. It sounds like we're following lots of different characters. Next I've got another memoir, non-fiction. This one's called The Manicurist's Daughter by Susan Liu? How do you say that last name? An emotionally raw memoir about the crumbling of the American dream and the daughter of refugees who searches for answers after her mother dies during plastic surgery. She's been searching for answers about her family's past and their own future. Refugees from the Vietnam War, Susan's family escaped to California in the 80s. Okay, her mother died from a botched tummy tuck. After the funeral, no one was ever allowed to talk about her or what happened. For the next 20 years, Susan navigated a series of cascading questions alone. Why did the most perfect person in her life want to change her body? Why would no one tell her about her mother's life in Vietnam? How did this surgeon, who preyed on Vietnamese immigrants, go on operating after her mother's death? Susan uncovers the painful truth of her mother herself and the impossible ideal of beauty. Much more than a memoir about grief, trauma, and body image, it is a story of fierce determination, strength in shared culture, and finding your place in the world. Wow, sounds really interesting. Did I say the date for this one? Expected to be published March 12. Then on March 19, I have Mother Island. A daughter claims Puerto Rico. Oh, this is a memoir too, is it? A searing and deeply personal memoir that explores the institutions, family, society, country that defined a Puerto Rican woman and what she unlearned to rediscover herself. So she grew up in the Midwest, raised by a Puerto Rican mother who was abandoned by her family. She and her sisters were estranged from their culture, consumed by the whiteness that surrounded them. I can remember why I put this on my list then. Only as an adult in New Mexico, she was able to forge her own path, using writing to recast her origin story, a journey that takes her to Puerto Rico and back. She looks to her ancestors to reimagine her relationship to the past and to her mother's native island, reaching beyond her own mother into a greater experience of mothering and claiming herself. In stunning prose that draws from Puerto Rican folklore and mythology, a literary lineage of women, writers of color, and narratives of identity. A cultural coming-of-age story, candid and raw. Mother Island gets to the heart of who do we become when we are no longer trying to be someone else. Wow, this sounds lovely. Okay, next up I have a sci-fi, which is going to be a surprise to most people considering I don't read sci-fi, but this one comes out March 19. It's called Anita by Sierra Greer. For fans of Never Let Me Go and My Dark Vanessa, a powerful, provocative novel about the relationship between a female robot and her human owner, exploring questions of intimacy, power, autonomy, and control. Anita was created to be the perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready for him every night, wears the pert outfits he orders for her, and adjusts her libido to suit his moods. True, she's not the greatest at keeping Doug's place spotless, but she's trying to please him. She's trying hard. She's learning too. Doug says he loves that Annie's AI makes her seem more like a real woman, so Annie explores human traits such as curiosity, secrecy, and longing. But becoming more human also means becoming less perfect. And as Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder, does Doug really desire what he says he wants? And in such an impossible paradox, what does Annie owe herself? Kind of sounds a bit scary. It sounds like a robot that's like becoming human. Next, on March 19, I have Memory Piece by Lisa Coe. Fiction, art, historical fiction are the genres it's tagged as. A visionary novel of friendship, art, and ambition that asks, what is the value of a meaningful life? Okay, so in the 80s, three teenagers drawn together by their shared sense of alienation and desire for something different. A Memory Piece is an innovative and audacious story of three lifelong friends as they strive to build satisfying lives in a world that turns out to be radically different from the one they were promised. Okay, so we're following friends over a number of years. Oh, so we start in the 80s to the 90s and then move into an imagined portrait of the 2040s. That's interesting. Next, on March 26, I have The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is the third in the Aunties series. I've read the first one, but not the second one. And this is the third. Obviously, I'll need to read the second. This is tagged as romance, mystery, fiction. I think I would say it's more general fiction because people have been classifying it as a cozy mystery. But the first one, it wasn't really a mystery. I think because there was a death in it it was classified as a cozy mystery, but I don't know if I can give you the synopsis of this one. But basically the first book is this young woman and her aunties. They own this wedding business. They're trying to cover up a death, and it's just silly and funny. So this one is the third book. I don't know what happens in the second, so I don't really want to read the synopsis, but I'm sure it will be fun and funny. Next up, March 26th, I have A Great Country by Shilpa Samaya Gowda. Oh, I just read the tag. A novel in the tradition of Celeste Ng's Little Fires Everywhere, exploring the ties and fractures of a close-knit Indian-American family in the aftermath of a violent encounter with the police. Pacific Hills, California, gated communities, ocean views, well-tended lawns, serene pools, and now the new home of the Shah family. They came to America 20 years earlier with little more than an education and their new marriage. The move represents the culmination of years of hard work and dreaming. One Saturday night, the 12-year-old son is arrested. A fallout from that event will shake each family member's perception of themselves and as individuals, as community members, as Americans, and will lead each to consider, how do we define success, at what cost comes ambition, and what is our role and responsibility in the cultural mosaic of modern America. Oh my god, I just read the bottom bit. For readers of The Vanishing Half, which I loved, by Britt Bennett, and Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which I also loved, A Great Country explores themes of immigration, generational conflict, social class, and privilege as it reconsiders the myth of the model minority and questions the price of the American dream. While I'm not American, that part doesn't really appeal to me, but everything else does. It mentioned 3 books in this to compare it to: Little Fires Everywhere, The Vanishing Half, and Such a Fun Age, and all 3 of those I've loved. So this is jumping quite high on my anticipation list, so hopefully it's good. It doesn't have that many reviews, so we'll see. Next up, very excited for this one. Comes out April 2. All right, we're officially into the April books. It is called Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which is the author of Part of Your World, which I absolutely loved. She also had another book come out this year called Yours Truly, which I didn't love as much, but I still enjoyed it. So very excited for her newest romance in 2024. Justin has a curse, and thanks to a Reddit thread, it's now all over the internet. Every woman he dates goes on to find their soulmate the second they break up. When a woman slides into his DMs with the same problem, they come up with a plan. They'll date each other and break up, their curses will cancel each other out, and they'll both go on to find the love of their lives. It's a bonkers idea, and it just might work. That sounds like so much fun! I'm excited. All right, almost to the end of the books that I have for today. Right, again, April 2, I have another romance. This one's called Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. I read Kiss Her Once for Me by this author just last month. It was a Christmas romance and I really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to read more from her. So this is another queer rom-com. Childhood best friends forced together to drive their former teacher across the country. Okay, so a long time ago they used to be friends. They spent their childhood summers running through the woods, rebelling against their conservative small town and dreaming of escaping. But then an incident the summer before high school turned them into bitter rivals. After graduating, they went 10 years without speaking. Now in their 30s, they find they aren't quite living the lives of adventure they imagined for themselves. Still in their small town and working as teachers, love a teacher story. But when their beloved former English teacher and lifelong mentor tells them he only has a few months to live, they're forced together once and for all to fulfill his last, I'm guessing that's meant to say wish, a cross-country road trip. Stuffed into the gayest van west of the Mississippi, the 3 embark on a life-changing summer trip that will chart a new future and perhaps lead them back to one another. Very excited for another book by this author. Next up, again, April 2, I have Relative Strangers by A.H. Kim. From the acclaimed author of A Good Family comes a timely spin on Sense and Sensibility. Oh, yesterday's video I also had a Sense and Sensibility retelling. A 21st century family drama featuring 2 half-Korean sisters, their ex-hippie mother, multiple messy love affairs, and one explosive secret that could ruin everything. A witty, wry, and enormously entertaining retelling, the sisters' journey of self-discovery as they reshape their lives gives this classic tale a modern feminist twist as it touches on themes of blended families, race, class, and wealth. All right, last one. Very excited for this one. And I haven't locked it in yet, but I'm considering choosing this one for my book club. So let me know, please, if you would be interested in reading alongside with me. But this one is, again, April 2, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sengu Mandana. This is the author of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I loved. It is the perfect amount of fantasy for me. So we have another cozy fantasy with a bit of romance, another book about witches. I'm very, very excited for this one. So please let me know if you're interested in this also, because I've been picking backlist books for my book club so far, but a new release that I'm very excited about will be hopefully a good pick, I think. An enchanting novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track. So she was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead and lost most of her magic. She befriended a semi-villainous talking fox and was exiled from her magic guild. Now she, slightly reluctantly and a bit grumpily, helps Aunt Jasmine run an inn, where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans, tries to keep the talking fox in check, and longs for the magical future she lost. When she learns about an old spell book that could hold the secret to restoring her power, she finds herself turning to Luke Larson, a gorgeous and icy historian who might be the only person who can help her unlock the book's mysteries. The fact that he also happens to be her one-night stand from years ago is totally irrelevant. Running an inn, reclaiming lost magic, and trying not to fall in love is not for anyone. But Sarah is about to discover that she doesn't have to do it alone, and that the weird, wonderful family she's made might be the best magic of all. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, April 2, it comes out. So if Australia gets it the same time as everyone else, I'm thinking that I can make everyone read it with me for the book club. Anyway, that's all the books that I have for today's 2024 release video. I do have about 20 more, the same amount as today, for one more video, I think, possibly. I probably missed a lot of releases. I just kind of grabbed books from wherever I was seeing them and adding them to a giant list. So I'm sure that I've missed some anticipated releases. So let me know what you are looking forward to that's being released in 2024 so I can add it to my list. Let me know which of the books I mentioned today you are the most interested in and whether you'll be picking them up. Hopefully, maybe I gave you a new book that you hadn't heard of before. I tried to find some ones that I hadn't really seen a lot of people talking about, along with some that are very anticipated for most people. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go and try and cool down now because it is probably already like 40 degrees by now. And yes, I will see you hopefully tomorrow with the last of my anticipated reads.